Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. So here is another beginner crochet video and we are going to make a little squishy today. I'll go over really quickly some of the supplies that we're going to need today. So obviously we're going to need yarn. I have chosen this pretty grape color from I Love This Yarn as my color for today. I'm going to need a crochet hook of your size, up to you. You can use a 5mm, a 5.5mm. I'm going to use a 3.5mm. I do believe today this is my favorite one because it makes nice tight stitches and nice cute little amigurumi toys. So that's what I'm going to be using. You'll need some scissors, a stitch marker, some keychain making supplies if you want to turn your squishy into a keychain. So I've got a little bit of things, and I have got a little keychain doohickey that I can't remember the name of. We've got some pliers here. We've got our tapestry needle and needle threader, and we've got the backs to some safety eyes. We've got a variety of safety eyes over here. I'm going to see what I think looks best. You can make yours with felt if you like, and if you don't have the safety eyes. And then this is just the container that I keep my needles in. In the previous videos, we learned how to crochet in rows and then crochet in rounds. So here are our previous projects, and today we are going to actually make something that you can keep as a finished product. So here are our little squishies. These are our references, and we're going to jump right in and we're going to get started. So pull some yarn out of your ball there and give yourself some slack. We're going to get started right away. So we're going to start off with a magic ring. Remember, hold it in place, wrap around your finger twice, hold it right here, go in with your hook, yarn over, come back through, yarn over, and alright, once you have your magic ring started, we are going to crochet 6 into our magic ring. So 6 single crochets into our magic ring is going to be our first row. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to mark this, our 6th one, with our stitch marker. I like to mark my end of my rows. Again, you can mark the beginning or the end. That is completely up to you. There's my 6th stitch. I'm going to pull this out a little bit, give myself a little bit of slack, and we are going to close up the magic ring by tugging on the tail to see which one moves. This one is the one that's moving, so we are going to pull the edge for our closest to the tail here. We're going to get all of that extra loop out, okay, and then we're going to pull the tail, and our magic ring is sealed up nice and tight. Alright, I don't like a really long tail on my ends, so we're just going to cut off the excess there. And then we're going to get ready and move into round 2. Round 2 is going to be 6 increases all the way around. So an increase, as we did before in the previous video, is 2 stitches in a single stitch of the previous round. So 2 and 1. 1, 2 in that first stitch, and we're going to move and do 2 in the second stitch all the way to the 6th one. So there's 3 and 4. Okay. We're going to do 11 and 12, and then we're going to mark 12. 11, 12, mark 12. There you have that. That is round 2. Round 3 is going to be an increase followed by a single crochet 6 times around. So 1, 2, there's our increase, and a single crochet. Yep. There we go. And we're at our last stitch, which should be a single crochet. And it is. We're going to do that, and we're going to mark the stitch. That was row 3. It is just that simple. All right. Moving on to row 4, we're just going to add another single crochet into the mix. So we're going to increase and then do 2 single crochets, increase, 2 single crochets. That is our pattern all the way around. And I just want to make a quick side note. So this is a 3.5 millimeter hook. We did our previous project with a 5 millimeter hook, or I did anyway, and you can see the difference in exactly the same type and brand of thread or of yarn that I used. You can see how this is a much larger stitch than this. So this is why I prefer a smaller hook, but again, this is personal preference. So depending upon how large or how small you want your project, or how large or small you want to work in general, choose the hook to match that accordingly. All right, so let's go on to the row 4. So we're gonna increase and then do 2 single crochets. So single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, that's our pattern all the way around. The one downside to working with a smaller hook than the thread calls for is the tendency for the thread itself to want to split. So if you just get caught on your fibers that are in your thread or in your yarn, I don't know why I keep calling it thread, if you get trapped on those fibers, just go back and redo the stitch, and that will take care of that little issue. All right, we ended up on that last single crochet. That's how I sort of mark whether or not I need to go back and count the stitches each and every time. If I end up where I'm supposed to end up when I hit the stitch marker, I know that I've got the right count. If for some reason I end up in a different place, or if I'm not quite finishing off where I'm supposed to, I'll go back and I'll count my stitches. But now you should have 24 stitches in your round, and that is as wide as our squishy friend is going to get. So the next several rows that we're going to do are just single crochets around, and we're going to do 4 of those rows of just single crochets around. Now, rather than have you watch me get all the way through this, I am going to just skip forward to the 4th row, and then we'll move on to the next step, and that will keep the video a little bit shorter. But just as I'm doing right here, you're just going to go 1 single crochet in every single stitch, making sure that you don't miss a stitch. If you feel like you've missed a stitch, you can go back and count the stitches in your row and make sure that at the end of the 4 rows you still have 24 stitches in your round. An easy way to count the rows, by the way, is to find your stitch marker and count the bumps. So this circle right here is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4 that we just finished up, and then when we get done with row 5, you want to count right behind your stitch marker, and that'll give you the correct count. When we get done with row 5 here, there will be 5 bumps coming up along here. So count just behind your stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. We were on row 4, and now we're on row 5. So you'll know where you're at as well. You need to pause the video and catch up. If you have already paused the video and you are ready to go with your 4 rounds of single crochets, then here we go. We're going to go on to the next step. So we've got the basis of our squishy. We're going to pull out some slack here because we've got to do a little work before we can begin to close our little friend up. So we're going to do a combination of things. We're going to put our eyeballs in if we are using safety eyes, and we're going to attach our keychain items if we are doing a keychain. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my keychain first. I'm going to take one of my little eye rings. I'm going to pull it apart, and I'm just going to run it up through the top somewhere and hook it onto that first row. I'll let that get caught up in that yarn wherever it sort of wants to get hung up. That makes a good nice loop somewhere. Okay, and then we are going to put the end of the chain on it and then close that back up. Alright, so I like to take that open bit and run it back inside of the squishy. And I'm just going to leave this hanging out for now, and then we'll attach this here in just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the safety eyes, and for this fella I think some nice large sort of doofy eyes will be really cute. That looks like a good size. So what I'm just going to do is I am going to find the middle of my project. I'm going to go on either side somewhere around row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in between rows 5 and 6 or 6 or 7. You can make the choice based on how sort of amigurumi and maybe chibi cute you want it. The lower the eyes, the more chibi it is. The higher the eyes, the less chippy. So you're going to poke your safety eye through, and then you are going to pop the back on it so that it's nice and snug in the back. Alright, there's one eye, and then you're just going to sort of line it up. We're going to go about here, and I'm going to call that a nice wide face for our little friend. My fingers are getting in the way of showing you, but there we go. There's our little face for our little friend. Make it as wide or as thin as you want for yours, and then attach your backer onto it, nice and secure. You can also secure these into place if you don't have the backing posts or the backing bits. You can secure these into place with a little bit of super glue. And I did forget to mention that you will need some fill to go in here. So we're going to get our fiber fill ready to go, or our polyfill, whatever you have, ready to go. And we're going to start to close this up in the next round. So we had to do a little attaching of all of the things before we can move on and close up. All right, so here we go. For this, we are going to be working in the back loop only. And we don't want this to curve. We want a nice flat bottom on the bottom of our little fella here. So we're going to decrease rather rapidly for this. If you want something round, you decrease slowly. If you want something flat, you have to decrease rapidly. We're going to take this from 24 down to 12 really quickly by decreasing 12 times around. So in order to decrease in this one, you are going to use the back loop only. So we're going to go right down in the middle of the stitch and use the back loop only. All right, so we are at the end of this row, and I have marked this decrease as the last stitch of this row, but I haven't fastened it because we're about to take it out. It's just serving as a little bit of a marker really quickly, but you can see how you've left a little ridge here and you have decreased really quickly. Now we are at 12 stitches, and so we're going to finish off in the same manner that we did last week. So we are going to go ahead and remove our stitch marker. I'm going to pull some slack through so that I can see what I'm doing here. We are going to cut a tail on our work. And we're going to pull that tail through that last stitch. And before we begin to stitch this up, we are going to put our polyfill in. Now, you want to keep in mind what kind of shape you want when you are putting your fiber fill, polyfill, whatever you have inside of your squishy. So you want the top to be nice and full, but you don't want to overstuff your bottom because you want this nice flat edge on the one side. I'm going to try just a little bit more, and if it seems to be too much, you can always take some out. Or if that looks good, then you can go with what you have. So that looks like a cute little shape to me. I like that. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to close this up. I'm going to thread my needle again. And we're going to do just like we did before with our little practice ball. And we are going to run through the front loop of each of the 12 stitches, pulling as we go. and securing this bottom. There's 1, 2, and 3. Just give it a little tug. Okay. 4, 5, and 6. Give them a little tug. 7, 8, and 9. Give it a little tug. Start seeing him close up. And then we have 10, 11, and 12. Give it that final tug. Get that little last row nice and secure in there. Do just like we did before. Run this through a few of those stitches just to get that thread hooked in, or the yarn hooked in, so that it's not going to come loose on you. Just run it around a couple of times, and then when you feel like it is nice and secure, then you can run it through the top just to leave that tail hanging inside of his little body. Snip it off. And I like to use the back of my needle to just butt any loose ends back in. So you can just, anything that's hanging off right there, you can pop right back into the stitch, and then you have the body of a little squishy ready to go. How cute is that? He's nice and secure down the bottom. He's nice and flat on the bottom, so you can see that we did a less drastic increase. So you've got that nice rounded edge. We've got 4 rounds of single crochets, and then we did a drastic decrease so that we can close him off nice and flat. So this is where you should be right now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add his little fringe. So here's the extra piece. All right, so we're going to get some yarn ready, and we are going to just work a quick slip stitch. If you leave a decent tail, because we're going to need to tuck this in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look for the two pieces here. So we've got the beginning of that round, and we've got the end of that round. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our fringe on that. So I am going to start. I'm going to start right here. So I'm going to loosen this up, and I'm going to go through that very last stitch right here. Okay. I'm going to put my slip stitch back on. This is just a little bit finicky, but you'll get the hang of it really, really quickly. And I'm going to yarn over, or just pull it through. What I'm going to do is slip stitch on again, and that's going to serve as like a little single crochet there for me. That's just a place marker for me. All right, and so we're going to chain 1, and then we are going to do a triple crochet here. So yarn over twice. I'm doing a triple crochet, which I don't think that I did on my previous squishies, so that you can get a drastic fringe on your little squishy friend. And you can really see how it goes. We're going to chain 1 again, and then we're going to do a single crochet. All right. So this is one of his little fringes. Okay. Now, we're going to repeat that process all the way around. So there will be 8 of them. We have taken up 3 of our 24 stitches. And so we will end up with 8 little pieces of fringe. So again, to do that, it is a single crochet. Okay. A chain. A triple crochet. Yarn over twice. Go through. Yarn over. Come through. Yarn over and go through 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the next 2 loops on your hook, oops, and yarn over and go in the final 2 loops on your hook. Chain 1, single crochet in the next, and there you have 2 bits of fringe. So there's 2 of his, technically his little tentacles there. All right, we're going to do that all the way around. Okay, so we are back at the very last one. So this is number 8. And I am going to complete the same steps that I did before. So we're going to do the triple crochet. Try to get some slack here so I can see what I'm doing. Here's the triple crochet, chain, single crochet in this last hook or last stitch. And then to attach these together, we're just going to go back and we're going to find our initial little stitch here. Is right there. And we are just going to slip stitch this front to this back. So we're just going to go into that stitch. It might be a little bit finicky to do, but we're going to go into that stitch. Let me get a hold of it. All right, go through both of those loops on that stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through again, and that is the slip stitch to hold the beginning to the end. All right, and then we're going to cut a tail and pull that through. Now we've got the beginning piece and we've got the end piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to take and run those into the inside of our little squishie's body. So thread your hook and just hide your ends inside like we did before. Make sure that it catches as you're running it through these stitches on the inside. Just make sure that it's catching on some of those stitches. Make sure that your needle is sort of going through some of them so that it has something to grip onto. It's not just floating loosely in there. And if you feel like doing that a couple of times, do that a couple of times. I caught it pretty well on the way in, so I'm not overly worried about it coming undone. And so I'm going to do like I've done before, and I'm going to run it up through the top. Just like so. And chop it off. I'm going to do the same thing for that beginning end. The beginning end. That was a weird thing to say. And that is your squishy. Okay, so the only thing that we have left to do here is attach the other end of our keychain. So we're just going to open this little eye guy up here. We're going to pop the end of the chain on. Pop that on. And close him back up. Just like so. And he's done. He's a keychain. So, if this is your first little amigurumi sort of project ever, congratulations on your success. You have made it to the very end. There is nothing else. You have successfully made a little squishy octopus friend. How stinking adorable are these little fellas. If you want to, you can add in a mouth with some embroidery thread, or you can use a contrasting color of yarn that you have laying around. I seem to find that they're just kind of cute with no mouth, so I've been leaving the mouths off. This one was the first one that I had ever made, so yeah, I like them without their little mouths. But look at our chunky boy. This is our chunky boy. So again, you can see the exact same pattern done with different threads and different hook sizes is going to give you different results. So this is a much thinner thread, obviously, or thinner yarn, obviously, than these other guys. But they're your squishies. All right, so in the next crochet tutorial video, we will do the other kind of crocheting in rounds for like garments and things like that that are not amigurumi sort of style. And then we'll make a little, what is that thing called? With the thing that you set your pots on. I can never remember the name of that, but we'll make a little one of those in the next video for that. And do let me know how your squishies came out. If you are not part of our Discord, jump into the Discord and put your pictures in the finished craft section. I would absolutely love to see them, or you can link them down in the comments below if you have somewhere that you can post them. But our Discord is free to join. The community is fantastic and wonderful, and I mean the best community ever. So please do come in and join and be a part of that. All right, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Say goodbye, Squishy. Goodbye, everybody. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the little notification bell so you are informed each and every time I upload new content. And I'll see you in the next video. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you need me to go over something else, if you didn't quite figure out how to make your squishy, or if you did. And don't forget to jump in and join that Discord server so that you can show your little squishy off as well. All right, you guys, I love your faces. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.